So we just had a Nintendo Direct announced. Let's take a look at what might be there as Nintendo and other publishers set up the rest of 2025 and the start of 2026. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So here's the announcement from Nintendo over on X. Join us on September 12th at 6 a.m. Pacific, which would be 9 a.m. Eastern, for a Nintendo Direct. Tune in for roughly 60 minutes of information on upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch games. And then they have a link here where you can watch. Of course, you can check it out over on YouTube. So this is going to be a 1-hour Nintendo Direct that's scheduled for Friday. Now this is one of the longest Nintendo Directs that I can remember in a while. I know the Switch 2 reveal Direct was an hour and I think 2 minutes. So I will be interested to see how this finally clocks in, if it ends up being the longest Direct we've ever had. And the Direct is releasing on a Friday, which isn't normal for Nintendo, and I think I know why they're doing this. First, let's start with the fact that it is the Super Mario Bros. 40th anniversary on the day after the Direct, which is September 13th. Sure, Mario was in Donkey Kong when he was just known as Jumpman, and after that we had the Mario Brothers game that came out. But the anniversary of Super Mario Bros. For the NES is what Nintendo celebrated for its 35th anniversary with things like Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Paper Mario, the Origami King, and the annoyingly time-limited release of Super Mario 3D All-Stars, as well as Super Mario Bros. 35. So what can we expect for this 40th anniversary? Well, first let's take a look at what I don't think we'll see. I kind of doubt we're going to see a big 3D Mario game get announced. The Super Mario Bros. Movie 2 is scheduled to release on April 3rd of next year, so it would seem like it would be a good time to release some big new 3D game around that same time. Now, what do I think that we could see? So I'll start with the most obvious. Nintendo has already announced that Super Mario Sunshine is coming to Nintendo Classics GameCube app. And even though it was included in that discontinued Super Mario 3D All-Stars game, this does give everyone a chance now to have this on the current platform. So this does seem like the best time to drop that. Next, we could see some Super Mario games get an updated release. We had Super Mario Galaxy as part of that 3D All-Stars game, so we could finally see a re-release of Super Mario Galaxy 2. Or who knows, they could even, now that the All-Stars game's discontinued, maybe they release Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2 as some kind of twin pack. And we've already seen a port of new Super Mario Bros. U brought over to the Switch with a deluxe version, so we could see new Super Mario Bros. 2 from the 3DS brought over to the Switch. This definitely seems like an easy win for Nintendo. And other than that, we might see some footage from the new movie releasing next year, though I think it's less likely. If anything is shown, it probably won't be a major focus. When the previous movie launched on April 5th, 2023, Nintendo held a dedicated Direct the October before. So with this sequel set to release just 2 days earlier in April, it wouldn't be surprising if the timing lines up in a similar way. So I'm thinking we probably won't see anything for the Super Mario Bros. 2 movie until October. Next, Nintendo has several big games from their IPs left to give dates on, specifically Metroid Prime 4 and Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Now the latter of these two, Age of Imprisonment, is being developed by Koei Tecmo and has a release window of just winter. So I'm thinking this game moves into, like, say February of 2026 and won't make it out for this Christmas season. However, Metroid Prime 4 is dated for 2025, and Nintendo likes to drop one big game per month, although they have doubled up before. So if we look at in the coming months, we don't really have a big game from Nintendo announced for September, but I think it'd be kind of odd for Nintendo to drop Metroid Prime 4 with less than 3 weeks left in the month. Now there are several other big third-party games in September like Silk Song or Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, at least for the Switch version, and a Final Fantasy Tactics game, just to name a few. So it does kind of look like Nintendo may be skipping September, although I would not be surprised if we get some kind of shadow drop or very quick turnaround announced here at this Direct. Perhaps we might finally see that Metroid Prime 2 and 3 twin pack. But if we move on and look at October, we have Pokemon Legends Z8 coming out on the 16th, and then we have Kirby Air Riders on November 20th. So for this reason, I'm thinking Metroid Prime 4 will release, say, in the first or perhaps second week of December. But if I had to put a date on it, I'd go with December 4th, since Nintendo releases games typically on a Thursday. And this would give it more time for that shopping season leading up to Christmas. Now we also have Splatoon Raiders from Nintendo that has yet to get any kind of release window, but I'm thinking this is probably a 2026 game just because the rest of the year is pretty packed. And there have also been some reports of a Pokemon spin-off game that could get announced at this Direct, and it's most likely a smaller title, and there's always a possibility that might shadow drop here at this Direct. Perhaps we see a new Pokken entry, a Pinball Revival, or even another Mystery Dungeon installment. For now, we'll just have to wait and see if the rumors are true and what kind of game we'll actually get. So now let's take a look at some of the third-party games and some of the rumors leading up to this Direct. So leading up to Tokyo Game Show, Sega released this graphic for what they plan to show. And you can see that there are 4 coming soon tiles, so my guess here is that these are unannounced games, and there's not any indication that these could be a Switch or Switch 2 title, but if some of them are, what do we think could be there? Well, despite what many are saying, I kind of doubt we're going to see a new Yakuza game, considering that RGG is going to hold their summit on September 23rd, and they've already said that they plan to do a big announcement there. But we might see another Switch 2 port of something like the 2020 Like a Dragon, or perhaps maybe Pirate Yakuza. And we did see a renewed trademark for Skies of Arcadia a few months back. I had posted that over on X. If you wanted to follow me there and check those out, I always post any of these that I find. And with Sega wanting to revive some of their older IPs, perhaps we see a remaster of Skies of Arcadia. Or maybe perhaps we see one of the previously announced series like Jet Set Radio or Crazy Taxi show up here. But something that we know is coming from Sega is Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. We know the Switch version will release on September 25th, but the Switch 2 version was delayed, with the digital version coming, according to Sega, holiday 2025, and the physical version sometime early 2026. So I'm thinking we may get a release date for that Switch 2 digital version, or at the very least we might see that leaked Knights character officially revealed. There have also been rumors of 3 7 games, and these could be games with a 7 in the title is what I'm guessing. So just take a stab at some of these here. First one I'm thinking of is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There have been reports that Rebirth will be coming to the Switch 2 sometime in 2026. And we also still have to get a release date for Final Fantasy VII Remake for the Switch 2, which is set to release sometime in 2025, so that seems to be a given that that will be somewhere at this Direct. There have also been rumors that Resident Evil 7 will be coming to the Switch 2, with Resident Evil Requiem announced for a February 2026 release, although there's no Switch 2 version that's been announced. Perhaps this could be the start of Capcom trying to move many of their modern Resident Evil games over to the Switch 2. And then another possible 7 game is that Jason Schreier indicated that a Dragon Quest VII remake is in development. If that is true, it could be revealed once it gets closer to the release, since Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake launches on September 3rd. Square Enix may want to wait until after that release before announcing another remake. But going back to what I mentioned earlier, Yakuza Like a Dragon that was released in 2020 is technically the 7th game in the mainline series, so this could also fill one of those slots. And at every Nintendo Direct, we get some kind of sizzle reel of games that are coming out soon. And I'm thinking we'll probably see some games that are coming out before the end of the calendar year, so let's just go over a few of those quickly here. We have Trails of the Sky First Chapter for the Switch 2 coming September 19th. We have Pac-Man World 2 Repack coming September 26th. And then we have a Final Fantasy Tactics coming on September 30th for Switch 2, and then Borderlands 4 is scheduled for Switch 2 on October 3rd. Disgaea 7 Complete for Switch 2 is coming October 7th. Persona 3 Reloaded for Switch 2 is coming October 23rd. And as I mentioned before, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake is coming October 30th. And then we have Alteria Ryza Secret Trilogy Deluxe Pack for Switch 2 coming November 13th. And then both Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2 are coming to the Switch 2 on November 13th. And then Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero is coming to Switch 2 on the 14th of November. And then we have SpongeBob SquarePants Titans of the Tide for Switch 2 on November 18th. And then finally, what I'm really looking forward to, Octopath Traveler 0 for Switch 2 on December 4th. So let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. Do you think Age of Imprisonment will make it out this calendar year, or do you think it'll get pushed back to early 2026? And when do you think Metroid Prime 4 will drop? And what other games would you like to see at this massive 1 hour long Nintendo Direct? Drop your comments below and let me know your thoughts. And if you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. It really does help the channel out quite a bit. I want to thank you for watching and be good.